Did Studio MAPPA enhance Hajime Isayama's great art? Yo, what's good, it's your boy Reviews, and I'll try and keep this video anime only friendly, but considering that I'll be comparing the anime shots to the manga panels, heavy spoilers for the recent episode of Attack on Titan, the special final chapters, you have been warned. First up, Mikasa saying goodbye to Eren, which is the first time the anime has adapted this shot from the very first chapter. I really enjoy how Mikasa's entrance is super cinematic, and pretty much the entire prologue sequence of events is pretty much from episode 1, reanimated in MAPPA style, but we don't actually get any of the facial shots of Eren as he's waking up from the manga. And just like he did from episode 1, he's still sitting by the tree as he's crying, but in the manga he stands up as Mikasa asks Eren, "Why are you crying?" Pretty much the entire Ramsey and Hali sequence of events is pretty much the same from anime to manga, but of course we see more of that beautiful forest environment in the anime, where the background in the manga barely has any detail. You see more people running in the anime, you see some of the civilians helping one another as they're running from the rumbling, which you don't quite get from the manga. This dramatic sequence of events of the birds flying away with the super intense music playing in the background really created this really cinematic experience. I love how the anime has a back view POV shot of Ramsey looking towards the rumbling. Unlike the anime, the manga doesn't zoom in onto the rumbling titans. We do get some anime original shots in this episode, but I'll save that for my next video. But the street scenes of Marley with Eren's internal monologue is more or less the same from anime to manga. The two little boy cleaners that make an appearance in this panel actually have two appearances in the anime. You see them walking past this alleyway, and then the next shot you see them walking past Eren. The anime had more front and back views of Eren Yeager instead of the side views, especially this really long back view of Eren just walking. This perspective choice really shows his dominance, his power. The way this shot is framed, he almost looks like one of the rumbling titans. I love the beautiful city of Marley with the beautiful water in the background. We don't quite see that in the manga, we just focus more on the characters' faces. The anime just feels a lot more immersive than what the manga showed us with those buildings in the background. Is it me, or does Carla look kind of creepy in this shot in the manga? I think it's just the way her eyebrows are drawn and the way Eren looks at her like, "What on earth are you looking at, mate?" But both Eren and Carla are both drawn in such an adorable way. Instead of seeing the whole race family like we do in the manga of this flashback, we only focus on Frida. It makes sense because Eren is talking about the king of the wolves, so it makes sense to focus on Frida Rice. This one shot of Eren thinking about whether Eldian should die really makes me appreciate how the character art has really evolved from part 1 of the final season to now. It has such a sharp and refined look compared to the slightly roughness that part 1 of the final season gave us. I really do love this shadow behind Eren, showing us the darkness and despair he's going to put upon the Marleyans. I really love how the anime did justice to Eren's face as he's gritting his teeth in this shot. They made him look even more frustrated. Most of the sequence of Ramsey being beaten up by these 3 horrible Marleyans are more or less the same from anime to manga. We get some close-up shots of Ramsey's face as he's looking distraught in the anime version, but this shot of Eren walking away is drastically different from manga to anime. Eren looks super guilty in the anime, but in the manga, I'm not quite sure how to read Eren's emotion in the manga panel. It actually looks like Eren brings Ramsey to a hill, but in the manga he brings him back to his campsite home, which is an interesting change of scenery. I do love the hill, we see the moon in the background reflecting on both Ramsey and Eren. I would have loved to have seen this panel of Eren beating up these thugs, but instead the anime we just showed them lying on the floor passed out. Again, these shots of Eren talking to Ramsey on this hill and him crying are more or less the same from manga to anime, but I really love the art in the anime. The way the expressions are drawn on Eren's face compared to the manga, they're both really good, but I just feel like there's a lot more sadness, guilt, and frustration coming out from Eren's face. These scenes of Ramsey, his brother, and his family aren't changed too much from manga to anime, but this one shot of Hali telling Ramsey whether or not they're going to be trampled on really just breaks your heart. They really made Hali look super cute in this anime version, and the voice actress just did a phenomenal job with the cuteness. I love the animation of the money falling from Ramsey's pocket, which I think is a reference to the opening theme, My War. The anime was able to beautifully capture some of these dynamic shots of Ramsey and Halif. Isayama's extreme expressions of Ramsey screaming out in pain are beautifully captured in the anime. Although some of these really graphic shots in the manga are censored out. You have the smoke covering Ramsey's face, his body, and Halif's face. I do understand this. I think the manga panels were a little bit too gory. Although the Blu-ray might uncensor these shots. I love how Ymir is reflected into Ramsey's eye. More smoke covering the shot of Ramsey and Halif's bloodied bodies on the ground. We then get these shots of the refugees fleeing from the rumbling titans, trying to get past this steel door, which was still able to survive even after the rumbling titans crushed everything. Damn, how strong is that door? This camera pan turnaround of Eldia's arse is different to how the manga panel was of this high angle shot of the founding titan and all the rumbling titans. I think I prefer the anime version. It just shows the brutality and just the horror of the rumbling. Nothing too drastic of a change from manga to anime of the flashback of baby Eren and Armin, but I much prefer how Armin's face is drawn in the anime. Those eyebrows were extra thick in the manga. We get 1 or 2 panels from the civilians being crushed by the rumbling titans and the breeze. Although the anime does expand on this, which I'll be talking about later on in another video, the freedom poses of Eren in the sky were both beautifully adapted, although this front view shot of Eren saying freedom I think was drawn a bit better in the manga, although I really love the colours in the anime. There have been some people complaining about this shot of Eren, but personally I'm fine with it. While the past tree is drawn in a more exaggerated way in the manga, the shots of Eren looking at Armin and Armin looking at Eren look more or less the same. Although Eren looks really tiny in the anime, there isn't any noticeable huge changes from anime to manga when it comes to Annie and Armin's interaction. Although this one particular shot of Armin holding Annie's hand is different in the manga, he holds Annie's sleeve. It's furthering suggesting that Armin has romantic feelings towards Annie in the anime version, whereas in the manga it was more vague. I honestly thought they would shut Eren's eyes in the anime like he does in the manga, but no, his eyes are indeed wide open throughout, and we do not see those titan veiny lines connecting to his head. And that marks the end of chapter 131. So now we move on to chapter 132, The Wings of Freedom. The man standing next to Lady Kiyomi and Hanji has been completely removed in the anime version. Plus, it looks like in the manga, Hanji and Lady Kiyomi are standing on the boat. I feel like the anime went to town with Falco's expression as he's devastated about the death of Commander Magif, the potential deaths of his family back in Liberio. The camera perspective is also really nice in the anime on these 3 characters, showing that the 3 of them have no idea what to do. Annie's interaction with Mikasa in the manga barely had any background detail. Isayama really wanted to focus more on their faces and their expressions. The anime not only does that, it also enhances some of these expressions and character faces, blurring out the background and just showing the characters in the foreground more sharply. But dude, this shot of Mikasa blushing towards Annie almost looked like it was taken from another anime entirely. It's a little jarring seeing Attack on Titan characters acting this way when it comes to romance. I'm actually here for it. I really liked some of these scenes. It made me really like some of these characters, particularly Mikasa and Annie, a lot more. But the rest of their dialogue and interaction is more or less adapted straight from the pages of chapter 132. Levi is actually walking down the stairs in the anime, but in the manga he doesn't seem to be walking downstairs, and you get better close-up shots of his face in the anime. One thing I really liked about this shot of Eren, Yelena and Flock is how the anime showed us the environment, this broken down house, this shabby looking area. I really love this shot of Eren's face panning from the left to the right into the present day. It was a great way to transition scenes. I must admit that Yelena looks a lot more sweaty and exhausted in the manga panels, but most dialogue of Yelena talking about Zeke's euthanization plan isn't changed that much in the anime. I love how MAPPA animated Pieck's hair flowing in the wind as she's talking about performing her role as a warrior. Such a really heroic bad-ass way of showing Pieck as the scouts get their ODM gear sorted out. I love some of these slightly additional shots of Levi gripping his ODM gear equipment. Connie and Mikasa are missing from the panel as they are looking at Levi in the manga. As Reiner and Annie start talking in this shot, we don't see the scouts in the background. I love how the anime just focused on the 2 of them with Pieck as well. We get more close-up shots of Annie and Reiner's face In the manga, we see Peak's head popping here and there in the background, but the anime just wanted to focus on the two of them. It felt very intimate. Mikasa looks far less gormless in the anime versus the manga. I feel like the way they drew Annie in the anime of her looking back at Armin, she looks really guilty, and I think she feels bad leaving the scouts behind. This one panel shot of Mikasa, Armin, Jean and Connie talking about Annie has been divided into two shots in the anime version. Again, it felt very intimate, with Jean and Connie being a little bit more closer as friends versus Mikasa and Armin's closer friendship. The anime actually shows Levi Akuma sitting down while Hanji Zoe talks to Reiner and Peak. I love how the anime made Peak look super grossed out and disturbed by Hanji's comment about riding her back. When Hanji and Levi begin their discussion, we still see some of the Rory cadets in the background in the manga version, but in the anime it begins with just the two of them. Once again, the anime giving us more intimate shots with some of these characters. Onyankopon turns around and looks at Flock in the manga, but in the anime we don't actually see Flock. We see him walking as Onyankopon is talking to some of the flying boat mechanics, and then we get some of these really scruffy yet beautifully designed shots of King Flock Foster I, first of his name, protector of Eldia, and devoted follower of Lord Eren Jaegerbomb. We don't actually get a close-up shot of Flock being stabbed by Mikasa's ODM gear like we did in the manga shot. Armin and Connie have also been included in this shot of Mikasa, Jean and Hanji looking at Flock. While I love the way both shots of Flock have been drawn in anime and manga, damn did they really make him look rough and scruffy in the anime, which I appreciate. As the rumbling approaches, Hanji's expressions have been elevated in the anime version. You really do see the fear and anxiety in her eyes, as well as Reiner as he looks up at the rumbling Titan's steam. We get some more additional shots of King Flock talking about not allowing the scouts to kill his devils, aka the rumbling Titans. The scene of Flock dying is more or less the same in the anime and manga, although some of the shots have been changed around. We see more shots of Flock's face. They also included this goofy looking colossal titan slipping down this hill, again sort of alluding to this one line in the rumbling theme song by Sim. Gung Ho Gabby and Best Boy Falco demanding to be let out as the rumbling titans approach. Reiner has been cut from this shot of Mikasa and Armin talking to one another. In the manga, Reiner talks directly to Armin's face, telling him not to use his titan powers, but in the anime he's standing quite far away from him. We see Hanji in the background giving her little dialogue after Reiner does his dialogue moments in one manga panel, but in the anime we just see Reiner's face as a solo shot, showing us that Reiner still truly wants to be the hero to save the world. Armin's facial expressions in this shot as Hanji appoints him the new commander of the Survey Corps looks super detailed in the anime. He doesn't even sweat like he does in the manga. I do like how we see more of Hanji's face and eyes in the anime as she looks back at Armin. The anime made Hanji look super surprised as she's getting fisted by Levi. I don't think she's ever seen Levi fisting anyone before. We actually get a close-up shot of Hanji's lips smiling as she's getting fisted by Levi. Levi isn't shown to be a very patriotic type of guy, so seeing him doing the Shinzo Sasageo salute. So yeah, I really enjoyed this shot. I really liked seeing Hanji getting fisted by Levi. And then we get only 4 panels of Hanji flying around in her ODM gear heading towards the Titans. Most of these shots of Hanji slaying the Titans have been adapted in the anime, although we get far more anime original scenes of Hanji slaying these Titans. They really went to town showing Hanji getting burned alive by the colossal Titan's steam, and the facial expressions. My gosh, MAPPA really know how to draw faces. I really do like the footprints in the dirt in the anime, although some people don't like the way they're super round as Hanji wakes up in paradise. We just get some really beautifully drawn clouds, and we see the scouts of the past being beautifully drawn in MAPPA style. And that marks the end of chapter 1, The Rumbling. I will do a separate video talking about the changes of manga to anime for chapter 2, Sinners, so stay tuned for that. But tell me in the comments down below what you guys thought of these changes. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Which do you prefer, the anime or the manga? Tell me. Like for more Attack on Titan reactions, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings and more. But thank you for watching, and as always, aboard you the review, signing out.